Good evening, Houdat Nation, and happy Wednesday to our Bayou Blitz family. I hope everybody is doing well out there in this first full week of October. Uh, I guess Halloween season is creeping up on us. Our New Orleans Saints are 1-0 in October. And shooting for one of those things that we call a winning streak by going for two straight wins for the first time since mid-November of last year. Here to break down those possibilities are your Bayou Blitz co-hosts. My name is Bob Rose. His name is Brendan Boylan, and we are ready to roll.
Yeah, I think we are. I think we're ready for the Saints to go on a roll, kind of what you alluded to in a winning streak. I wanted to say a couple things before we get started. For all of you guys that reached out for Katie and I's anniversary, I appreciate it. It was a great first anniversary for the two of us. I think the best part of it was getting to eat the cake. I don't know if you guys did this, but we saved the top layer of the cake and froze it and ate it on the 1 year anniversary. So being able to dig into that was great. We did an espresso cake with a Bailey's like filling, Bailey's Irish cream filling. So that was delicious. Definitely worth the year wait. I also, before any of you jump on me, and when I say any of you, mostly my family members, because I know some of you see the hat is a Seattle Mariners hat. I'm not a Mariners fan. Born and raised a Mets fan. That's a whole different discussion with how they fell apart through the years.
Yeah.
But going out to Seattle and being there when they won the AL West for the first time in 24 years and just seeing the atmosphere, the environment, and what an awesome stadium that they have out there. Picked up a hat just because I like to pick up hats from my travels. But that is definitely the team I'm rooting for to win the whole thing. That fan base definitely deserves it. So before any of you people that know I'm from New Jersey get on me and say, "What are you doing wearing a hat of another team?" That's my explanation for it.
Well, I'm rooting for baseball to go bankrupt and disband completely, but that's for personal reasons, and those of you that know me well know why. But if someone has to win the World Series, I'm kind of hoping it's the Chicago Cubs. I grew up a big fan of Ryne Sandberg. May he rest in peace. Legendary second baseman, Hall of Fame second baseman, just passed away earlier this year. I also a Baltimore Orioles fan, so I get the long suffering, for you long suffering fans of a team of any sport. And happy anniversary to you and Katie, Brendan. I do not remember if I commented on your post. My mind is a jumbled mess these days, even more than usual. But we attempted to freeze our cake. A piece of our cake, to eat 1 year later, but unfortunately we forgot it in our hotel room freezer at the beach where we got married. So someone else, I hope you enjoyed our cake. I thought it was delicious when we first ate it. Hopefully we passed along those joyous nuptials on to somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing. So when we did a three tier cake, because I had multiple relatives who liked chocolate or hated chocolate, or and you wanted to kind of accommodate to everybody. So we did a chocolate one, a vanilla one, and then the top one. They're like, "Hey, you guys should really pick whatever flavors you like the most, because you guys will be able to eat that a year later." And I was like, "What are you guys talking about?" And they had to explain it to me and all that stuff. So, but it was good. It was good. Let's talk a little Saints victory week, because Jerry just threw in there. It is a victory week. I don't know how many of those we're actually going to get this year. So we'll enjoy it while we can. There were a lot of positives to build off last week. I also saw Kool-Aid McKinstry named the NFC Defensive Player of the Week. So congratulations to Kool-Aid, or oh yeah, for all the I want to throw that out there. I guess we'll start on the defensive side. A few days ago, I said that the defense was the main reason for the victory. I still stand by that. Anytime you force 5 takeaways, right? I think it's just kind of a given. But it was what the defense was able to do. One, scoring a touchdown, coming up with big momentum shifting takeaways at certain points of the game, whether it's something they really forced or whether Jackson Dart just forgot the ball and it slipped out of his hands, that type of ordeal. I really thought that the defense came to play, which was refreshing because we felt that for this team to be successful this year, the defense was going to have to play very well. We didn't really know what we were going to get out of the offense. And for the first few weeks of the season, it was very evident that the offense was going to struggle to score points. And they still are going to struggle to score points. However, when you are able to take the top off of a defense and score an 80-plus yard touchdown, that really helps. It makes your numbers look better. As like Spencer Rattler, you take that completion away and you throw for like 150 yards in the game. Rashid Shaheed, you take that reception away and you didn't have a really good day. You take that score away and maybe the game's a lot closer than we think it really should have been. You take all those components, that's a big piece of the puzzle. But the defense coming to play against a team that was without Malik Neighbors, their number one receiver, a team that had recently made the change from I'm really curious to see a reaction of me saying this. So everybody, let's just pause for dramatic effect. For those watching here on YouTube or watching live, a team that recently benched a future Hall of Fame quarterback in Russell Wilson. Yeah, see Bob shaking his head for all the audio people. I figured you were going to give that little displeasure, but statistically, that's a whole different discussion for a different time. Statistically speaking, I think he meets the criteria to get in the Hall. That's a different debate for a different day, right? Matt Ryan meets the statistics to get in the Hall of Fame as well. Like there's a lot of guys kind of right there at that. Like they were maybe like a top 5 to top 10 quarterback during their prime for at least a season. That you look at the stats, you go, well, if this guy's in, then they have to get in. And if this guy's in, then they have to get in. So anyway, a team that had recently made the change to a rookie quarterback, you kind of expect the defense to play well. And I don't think they just played well. I think they played exceptional in creating extra opportunities for their offense. And that's what I want to talk the most about on what can the Saints do to build off of that. Because we kind of closed Sunday night's show talking about how a victory like this can carry over into the next week for a lot of younger guys. And we use the word confidence a lot on Sunday night. So, Bob, from your point of view, outside of that Russell Wilson comment that made your skin crawl a little bit. What young players on the defensive side are you really looking forward to, not just this week, but for the weeks to come after their performance against the New York Giants?
And there is a lot to talk about on that side of the ball. But before I do, I want to let you all know that the Bayou Blitz is brought to you by Get Checked or Check Out. Get Checked or Check Out is the sponsor of the original Go Black and Gold Celebrity Charity Fan Cruise. The 2026 cruise is going to be March 26th through March 30th. Write that down, folks. March 26th through March 30th. And it is sailing out of Jacksonville, Florida this year, but docking in the Bahamas. That's a different departure point and a different destination than what the cruise has been the last few years. If you are coming from the New Orleans or Gulf Coast region, there are tour packages available that are leaving from New Orleans where y'all can travel together into Jacksonville, or you can just fly into Jacksonville yourself on your own dime and meet everybody at the dock. That's what I'm doing. I'm real excited for the destination of the Bahamas. This is, as it often has been, a Carnival cruise line. Book your cabins today, folks. You can do so with just a small down payment, just a portion of the cost. and then you can pay off the rest, into January. So you're not even have to worry. You don't even have to worry about it, taking funds away from your Christmas or anything like that. Or it could be your Christmas gift. But I want you to make that down payment today. When you do so, please mention us and the Bayou Blitz when you contact Summer Cochran at 985-643-6958. That's 985-643-6958. That is her cell phone, so you can text or call, whichever is easier for you. And like I said, mention the Bayou Blitz, and she will take care of you. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I really want you guys to go. We met so many lifers when we went for our first time last year, and within a couple hours on the boat, we decided that we'd become lifers. We had that good a time. It is a truly amazing experience. We have our own section of the boat, Saints fans, Saints family, and that's really what it felt like, was a family reunion. People that I'd never seen face to face. None of you. You guys were treating us like like we were long lost relatives, and you made us feel instantly right at home. There are going to be a handful of Saints greats that are going to be on this cruise, as there are every year. The 5 that have confirmed so far are Delvin Breaux, Tyrone Hughes, Michael Lewis, Courtney Roby, and Pierre Thomas. All of them are personal friends of ours, friends of the show. We've had them on several times. They are going to be on. We're going to start to get them scheduled in the upcoming weeks to help promote this show, this event, which I'll get into a little bit more in a second. And there's going to be more former Saints greats joining us too. And one of the things that is so great about this cruise is when you go to other sporting events, not just the Saints, not just the NFL, a meet and greet type of event, you have limited access to these guys or women, depending on the sport. Not in this case. Those guys that I just mentioned, they're intermixed. They and their families are intermixed with us, the entire trip. We're eating dinner together. We're hanging out at breakfast, hanging out at lunch, hanging out on the deck, hanging out on the beach. And it's a blast. You're not always talking football the whole time. It's not all business. It's not autographs and everything. You're chilling with these guys, and there's such awesome guys. That alone is worth the trip. But then you factor in a trip to the Bahamas, a cruise, events on this, competitions, on this cruise, like a very competitive and a blast of a putt-putt golf tournament. We're going to do a karaoke and a trivia contest this year, and a few Q&A sessions, photograph sessions too. It is a blast, folks. It is a wonderful, wonderful blast. But guess what? It also represents a great cause. Get checked or check out. Their website is at the bottom of the screen. It's tcynow.org. You can check them out. I believe you can book your cabins through there as well. But get checked or check out. This is their major fundraiser. And this is an organization that's in place, for if you or a family member receive medical news that just scares the bejesus out of you, terrifies you to your core, and you don't know where to turn next. That's why Get Checked or Check Out has been started by Shireen DeWalt, the co-founder. They will help steer you in the right direction as far as treatment options, research options, therapy, either physical or emotional, not just for yourself, but for your family as well. It's a cause that I've come to believe very strongly in. It's a cause that Shireen has dedicated her life to. This cruise is not only a great opportunity to give yourself a once in a lifetime, trip, and just set up your whole year. I'm still smiling and talking about it to people, but it's a chance to donate to such a great cause. Get Checked or Check Out and the Bayou Blitz want to remind everybody, take care of your physical, mental, and emotional health. And also that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Pink October since the 1980s. Everybody sees the pink ribbons. If you don't know why, that's to represent breast cancer awareness. Excuse me. This is the second most commonly diagnosed cancer globally, which makes it vitally important to stay informed and proactive about getting regularly screened, which includes regular mammograms, awareness of your family history, and self-checks at home. All of those help with early detection, which helps with improved treatment outcomes. You can maintain to help yourself, you can maintain a healthy weight, get regular exercise, eat a healthy diet, limit alcohol, and do not smoke. But first and foremost, make those screenings, make those checkups. And while we want to remind you that breast cancer October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, make sure you keep those checkups for all health-related activities. Again, physical, mental, and emotional. And go to that website, the checkout website. Donate a little bit. Donate a lot by getting involved in the original Go Black and Gold Celebrity Charity Fan Cruise. I want to see new faces there this year. It's really important for Brendan and I, and for Shireen too, for the Bayou Blitz to help this event grow. And it would mean the world to me if I saw some of you guys, that are in the chat every week with us. You guys already do so much for us, so I know I feel a little bit bad in asking for more. But it's kind of selfish too, because I want to meet you, and this is a great way, such a great way to do it. A lot of you guys I know would love to meet some of these guys that we've had on the show: Delvin, Mike, Ty, Courtney, Pierre. Well, this is your chance to do it, and get to know them as people. I had a blast. I want you to do the same.
You forgot to include that they get to meet you on this year's cruise. Fingers and toes crossed that I can still try to figure it out. Right now, it's not looking good, but we'll see if a Hail Mary pass is caught in the end zone for this year. If not this year, we will absolutely be on the next one. But you guys should go. You guys should go hang out with Bob. You guys should go hang out with these Saints greats. You guys should do it for a wonderful cause and meet all these wonderful people that Bob brags about every single week. Every single week we come on here and we tell you guys about all the wonderful things that this organization does, how wonderful of a person Shireen is, and all the great ways that this foundation helps the everyday person, right? And Bob says it every week, right? You get this health news that just scares the crap out of you. And I know that every single one of us, whether it's happened to us directly or someone we love, we've got some heartbreaking news. And you don't know where to go. And a lot of us don't know where to turn. And where are the resources? And what do I do? And your head is scrambling. Wasn't it nice to know that you have a friend in your corner? Isn't it nice to know that there's a website that you guys have heard about for weeks on weeks on weeks that you can go check out and reach out to somebody? And even if it's not you, put yourself in that position and think, well, wouldn't it be nice if this situation ever came up? Because there's somebody out there today, tomorrow, here within the next few hours that's going to feel like they're in the position that Bob describes week in and week out. And that's why it's so important, even if you can't go on the cruise this year, finding ways to be involved, finding ways, to help this organization out if it's something that, touches your heart. Because I know that for Bob and I, this cause and organization has definitely touched our hearts, and we hope that it does the same for you guys. So all in all, go on the cruise, check out the website, donate what you can. And I know Bob really hopes to see some of you guys
I do.
this upcoming year, and Bob will beat your butt at mini golf, at beach volleyball, and he may or may not hold it against you for the entire cruise. Fair? I think so. All right, Bob. So before we talked about our friends at Get Checked or Checked Out, I asked you confidence, how making plays on one Sunday for a young player or a rookie could ultimately affect the trajectory of the remainder of the season for them. So, who are a couple guys that you're paying attention to after last week, not just into this next week against New England, but for the remainder of the season to see how they use some of the positives of last week for the remainder of the year?
I tell you, there's a bunch. But when the second time, as most of you know, the majority of these games, win or lose, unless it's an embarrassment, I usually watch the game 3 times. I watch it live and then go back and watch film twice. The first time I rewatched the game, I really saw something out of Kool-Aid McKinstry. Now, we all saw something out of Kool-Aid McKinstry on Sunday, but when I rewatched it, I ended up focusing on him after that first interception. And he was playing with he's a confident young man anyway, but he was playing with so much confidence. And I think not that he got this year off to a rough start, but I thought he had a nice rookie year. It was certainly nice enough where the Saints said, okay, we're going to move on from Marshawn Lattimore. We're not going to try to re-sign Paulson and Debo because we believe that Kool-Aid McKinstry can be our number one corner. Well, for the first time, we saw Kool-Aid play like a number one corner. And with the Saints going up against the Patriots top receiver is Stephon Diggs. He's a guy that's been around the corner, had a lot of nice years in the NFL, and has tortured the Saints on a few different teams throughout his terrific career. It's not that the Saints play a lot of man coverage anymore, like we saw with Dennis Allen, where they would ISO Marshawn Lattimore on a player like Stephon Diggs. But we did see more man from the Saints last week against the Giants than we have at any other point this year. I really do believe that if the Saints go to man, or find themselves in man situations, they're going to do what they can to isolate Kool-Aid McKinstry on Stephon Diggs. And I'm very interested to see how Kool-Aid responds confidence-wise to his game last week, if that carries over while playing against Diggs and how he performs. But having said that, everybody is talking about Jonas Sanker and how well he is playing, and I couldn't agree more. He is playing like a perennial Pro Bowler back there at safety. Really showing great instincts for such a young player. Roaming the field well, taking away deep balls. You mentioned, Brendan, that the Giants were without Malik Neighbors last week. Well, they still had Jalen Hyatt, who can fly, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Darius Slayton. Eli Manning, wow. Jackson Dart could, right. It could have been where I could have said Phil Simms. Jackson Dart couldn't find any of them, and he was looking. And again, when I went back and rewatched the film, we all know that Jackson had forever back there in the pass pocket because of the lack of pass rush by the Saints. I wanted to see how often Dart was legitimately looking down the field, and it was on almost every single pass attempt. Between McKinstry's coverage, Quincy Riley's coverage, Sanker on the back end, and Jordan Howden, when he came in for an injured Justin Reed, they gave nowhere for Jackson Dart to throw the football. And I've been down on this secondary hard in the previous couple of weeks for how poorly they have played. And I gave that entire unit the game ball, in my post-game article. And I can't wait to see. Drake May and the Patriots are 7th in the league in passing production. I mentioned Stephon Diggs, but May is completing 74% of his passes, 7 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. This presents a legitimate test for that secondary to see how much they have developed, to see if that confidence from last week carries over. And that Kool-Aid is the individual I'm going to watch, but I'm going to be watching that secondary really hard to see how they responded to what I think was a turn-the-corner performance last week.
Yeah. I think for me, the secondary is the obvious answer, right? Because of how young they are, the injuries that they've already suffered this year, younger guys maybe being forced into positions they did not expect to be forced into. Honestly, for me, it wasn't as productive of a day as some other games this year, but I keep finding myself at the end of each week tipping my cap to Brian Bresee, tipping my cap to the play of Carl Granderson. Slightly less tipping my cap to Cameron Jordan just because of the amount of snaps he's had to play because of Chase Young's injury. So I'm going to be curious. Now, those guys are more veteran guys at this point. Bresee's still on the younger side, but certainly Granderson and Jordan. I'm going to be watching them from a confidence standpoint because remember last year, and Bob, I'll let you say the stat because it was one of your favorite stats. How many sacks did Saints defensive ends have last year?
17 collectively as a group.
There you go. Awful number. Well, if Granderson's sack was actually awarded to him there at the end of the game last week, he'd find himself second in the league in sacks. Second. Right? Cameron Jordan has a couple this year, maybe one. Is it 1.5 or is it 2?
2.5. 2.5.
2.5. Okay. I knew there was a half somewhere in there. So he's got 2.5 already. This year, Brian Bresee has made a handful of plays. Look at the forced fumble, last week. I look towards those guys to say, okay, you guys are clearly playing better than you did a year ago. You guys are adjusting well to a new system, which I think a lot of people have. That is maybe an oversight that this is a brand new system for everybody. And the defensive line and the edge rushers have adjusted to it better than I thought they would, certainly, or quicker than I thought they would. So what kind of confidence do you guys have within yourselves to be the tone setters throughout the rest of the season? Certainly next week against another young quarterback in Drake May. How are you guys going to come out, build off of what you guys had a week ago, and set the tone? Get pressure on the quarterback, make him uneasy, make him uncomfortable. That's the position defensively that I'm going to look towards the most. I don't want to piggyback off of your secondary. That certainly would have been my pick. I think it's the fair pick, the easy pick for everybody. But I want to look towards those guys. And how are you guys going to set the tone? And maybe, just maybe, if a witch doctor was hanging out in the Saints facility and sprinkled a little something on Chase Young, maybe he'll play this week.
Chase has returned to practice this week. He was practicing today on a limited basis. So that's at least a step in the right direction. He hasn't even practiced since his calf injury, to my knowledge. So just to see him in uniform, whether he plays or not this week remains to be seen. I think we'll get a better feel for that tomorrow. But the fact that Chase was back on the field, at least it's a step in the right direction, man. And I know you have that gentleman's bet going, and you're watching Chase Young's status every week.
I have to. Or Bob's getting a good Christmas. Well, Bob's going to get a good Christmas gift either way, but Bob might get a little bit of a better Christmas gift if I'm wrong on this side. I want to flip to the offense and kind of ask the same question. Like, what can they build on? I'm going to be watching. Do you want Spencer Rattler?
You know what? You let me go first on defense. You got to take the lead on offense.
Ooh,
you be the tip
50-50.
of the spear.
on two guys. So I'll say both guys, and then I'll explain why I'm going with one over the other. Part of me really wants to talk about Kendre Miller.
I knew it. I don't think that I didn't think that was the one you were going with, but I knew that was your B.
Yeah, Kendre Miller is definitely my B. That's an interesting one. And I think a lot of that too is just selfish because you and I have both said since the offseason, like, hey, this Kendrick's going to play a much bigger role than people expect. But I'm going to go with the obvious, and that's Spencer Rattler. Right? To quote Steve Young in the Super Bowl in 1994. Did I get my year right?
94 season, so 95 Super Bowl.
Yes, okay, so yeah. Get the monkey off my back. And for Spencer, he finally got that monkey off of his back after starting his career 0-10. He gets his first NFL victory. I think he gets the monkey off his back a little bit too because he had a deep ball for a touchdown. And it was a good, accurate pass. It wasn't one of those. It would be different if it was a screen pass out to Shaheed and Shaheed made a couple guys miss. But like Rattler delivered a good ball. Rattler played pretty confidently, right? 20 of 30 to 25, a touchdown. Decisive when stepping up in the pocket and deciding to run. You're starting to see more confidence every week from Spencer, but it was really nice to see that confidence result in the victory. I'm not saying that Spencer Rattler is the savior of this franchise. I'm not saying that he's going to start the rest of the year. Let's go ahead and get all those things, right out the gate. I'm not saying any of that. But what I am saying is you could definitely see a swagger and a confidence to Spencer Rattler week to week. Now, because you got that victory, you almost expect that swagger to emulate even more going into the next game. That was a good word. I'm impressed with myself. You expect that even more so. Now, New England's a winnable game, but it's not going to be a cakewalk. It's not going to be an easy win. Given with this Saints team, I don't think there is any easy wins or cakewalks. And for the fact of the matter, even going back to the prime Drew Brees years, as well as I do, any given Sunday, there are no cakewalks in this league. But I fully expect Spencer to continue to grow in confidence, pocket presence, continue to grow in his confidence in trusting his ability with his legs. But the biggest thing that I'm hoping for and looking for out of Spencer Rattler, with his confidence, is confidence in his arm, right? Because that's been the thing is, does he have enough confidence just to let it rip? Now, what have been the biggest knocks on Spencer Rattler? Deep ball inaccuracy has been a big thing, and throwing behind wide receivers. I'm not saying those are simple fixes because they're not. And if you throw on the tape, and Bob has talked about it week after week, if you throw on the tape of Spencer Rattler in high school and college and now in the pros, it's been an issue. But the funny thing with confidence, Bob, sometimes is you get out of your own head a little bit and you get out of your own way a little bit. And sometimes subconsciously throwing behind receivers consistently just gets stuck in your brain.
Hell yeah.
It's just something that I do. But if you play with a little bit of confidence, maybe all of a sudden you're like, hey, damn, I haven't thrown behind a receiver in the last 7 passes. Maybe it gets stuck in your head that, my deep ball accuracy isn't great. You know what? Maybe those losers on that podcast are right that keep talking about the fact that I can't hit a guy deep. Maybe those guys are right.
Well, listen, you're a basketball fan, Brendan. It's just like an average 3-point shooter. He or she, the player has always been average as a 3-point shooter, but yet has a nice stroke, has the strength to have the range. So you just don't understand why they're only average. But then they hit a couple and they get themselves into a zone. And And that's what maybe could happen with Spencer Rattler here. Because listen, we all saw the deep pass to Shaheed, And I love the fact that they are getting Shaheed more involved in the offense. I think that that is critical. Yeah, he is an underrated weapon for this offense. But we all saw the deep pass to Shaheed, all loved it. But yeah, as I pointed out in the post game on Sunday, and I actually saw another one when I went back, and rewatched the game. We mentioned on Sunday that Spencer made two really good throws uh, with the game on the line. Two intermediate shots. Well, when I went back and watched, I picked up a third one. He had a really nice, really accurate intermediate, mid to deep intermediate throw. Um, on a slant pass. And then it was another one on a sideline route. But then I missed another slant pass, where he was right on the money to keep the drive alive. So, I mean, that's four throws that he made that he really didn't make any of in the first 4 weeks. Does that mean he turned the corner? We shall see. But again, just like that 3-point shooter, whose stroke has just been off for a couple games, you're in a rut, you're in a slump. Well, then you come out and you hit a couple, and you get yourself into a rhythm, and pretty soon you're feeling like you're confident, like you can't miss anymore. And that's what I equate quarterbacking to as far as accuracy. You hit a couple, now you, like you just said, you're out of your own head maybe a little bit, and you're like, you know what? If I put the ball out there, Rashid's going to get it. Chris Olave is going to get it. Alvin is going to reel it in when he doesn't drop it. Jawan, we already know Jawan is a security blanket for Spencer, so we'll put that off the table. But Brandon Cooks, he wasn't real involved on Sunday, but we've seen Brandon involved a little bit in this offense. These guys have speed, and all I have been asking Spencer Rattler to do is put the ball out there for these guys to get it and make plays with that speed, with that elude. Not every ball has to be a 30, 40, 50-yard heave down the field. Just give it to them on a crossing route, on a wheel route when they've come in motion, or on a slant route. Get the ball to them on the move. Let them do the work. Because if they're going to do the work, it's going to make you look real good. And then all of a sudden, we're talking about Spencer Rattler's throwing for 280 yards a game, hitting 4 or 5 20 30-yard shots during the course of a game, when maybe only one of them is a deep shot. But again, that makes the quarterback look real good, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And that's what I think for a lot of us that watched Spencer Rattler in college, a lot of us that liked the Saints taking a shot on him in the 5th round a couple years ago, is that's what we expect out of Spencer Rattler. We don't expect a guy who's just going to unleash the ball deep. You have a guy that has the skill set to be a little bit more than a game manager, and has the skill set to be a guy that, surrounded by the speedsters that are actually on this roster, could inflate the stats a little bit. I don't want to call it stat padding, but inflate them a little bit, make it look a little bit better than it actually is. And that's what we expect. You're absolutely right with the 3-point shooter comparison. And that's all I can hope for Spencer Rattler, is that, a game like last week, bleeds into the next one, that bleeds into the next one. Before you know it, this guy is making some throws where you're like, oh, okay. Because you'd be the first to admit as well, the kid's got arm talent.
Yeah.
But you can have all the arm talent in the world, if you're not able to be accurate and kind of reel it back a little bit and be realistic with your arm talent, it doesn't matter, right? I mean, this is a very drastic example, but Jamarcus Russell had a lot of arm talent.
I was thinking Ryan Leaf, so we're on the same page here.
Right? Like, Jamarcus is like throwing 80 yards from his knees is one of my favorite clips of all time, because I don't know if you'll ever see another guy do that. Like, that's ridiculous. But it doesn't matter if you don't have, some other things. Jamarcus was more than just being talented. Obviously, you didn't watch film. There's a lot of other things, but That's the player I'm watching the most on the offensive side is because, and this is my final point, is we were sitting in this exact situation a week ago, and you and I were debating a little bit on like, well, is it time to make the change at quarterback? And my argument was, well, if he gets one, it's going to be really hard to sit him after that. Well, guess what? If he gets another one, it's even harder.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he doesn't get a third one, but he plays really damn well, then it's really hard to sit him. This is such an opportunity for Spencer Rattler to cement himself as an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
I didn't say starter, but a true NFL quarterback, a guy that, whether it's in New Orleans or it's elsewhere, can be a guy who's going to compete for that quarterback position or be a strong backup quarterback. This is your stretch. He's got to take advantage of that stretch. And that's why I'm watching him the most. It's pressure, but when you have confidence going into pressure, sometimes that pressure can make diamonds. That's why I'm watching Spencer Rattler. Who are you watching? Unless you're just going to steal Kendre Miller from me, then that's awesome. But who are you watching on the offensive side?
And Spencer Rattler, slash Rashid Shaheed slash Chris Olave were my choice, number one choice too. But how about Taysom Hill?
Heck yeah.
How about Taysom Hill?
Love some
I mean,
Taysom.
we know, just him being on that field supercharged that Superdome crowd, and more than the crowd, I think it's supercharged many of the Saints players too. We know what Taysom Hill's presence does to not only the Saints offense, but the opposing defense. Now, what we didn't see a lot of was effective Taysom Hill touches on Sunday. But keep in mind, folks, even if he is 100% healthy and coming back from an ACL, it's fair to openly question that. But even if he is 100% healthy, he's not in football shape. So there's some, to borrow a boxing term, there's some ring rust there. So you would expect some strategically limited touches during his first few weeks back. And I say strategically limited because we know that Taysom Hill can turn the course of a game in just 5 or 6 offensive touches. So what kind of touches is Kellen Moore going to give Taysom Hill against a New England Patriots defense that's been elite against the run? They rank 4th. They're giving up less than 86 yards a game on the ground and 3.5 per carry. So Kendre Miller, Alvin Kamara, they're big factors here. But how are you going to use Taysom Hill? How is Taysom Hill going to test that Patriots defense? That's what I'm going to be watching. That's who I'm going to be watching this Sunday.
That's fair. I think the thing with Taysom, especially last week, and you said rust, he looked slower, which I think is fair for a couple reasons. One, he's coming off of a major knee surgery for the 4th time in his football career, I believe.
You're dating back to college?
Yeah, I think it's 4.
Yeah, I think that does make 4. Yeah, because he had 2 in college, and I think this was his 2nd one in the pros.
So you have that. You have the fact that people forget that he's in his 30s. He was an old rookie because of his faith and going on the missions and stuff. Also, sidebar, I had to pull up stats on Taysom, so I went to Pro Football Reference. Pro Football Reference nicknames always make me laugh.
Yeah.
Because it's like no one has ever called him that. Have you ever heard Taysom Hill referred to as the Mormon Missile?
No.
Because I haven't.
No.
Not once in my life. But Taysom's 34, 35 years old. They expect him to be a little bit slower. He's coming off of a knee surgery. That's fine. But do you know what I like the most about what you said? Is what you started the conversation with, right? The energy he brought to the home crowd, the energy and that spark and that boost that he brings to the team, that's what Taysom Hill is. And that's what's made Taysom special, not just on the field, but off the field and in the locker rooms. He's a likable guy. He's an easy guy to root for. And he's a guy that no matter what's going on, the moment he steps on the field, everybody's on the edge of their seats.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's what's exciting. My Nana doesn't watch a whole lot of football. She doesn't really understand a whole lot of football, but she tries, and I'll give her credit for that. Taysom Hill's her favorite player and has been for many years. You know why? She goes, Brendan, every time the camera pans over to him, he is smiling. He has a smile on his face. He plays joyful. He loves what he does, and he loves his teammates. Nana, you're dang right. And that's why we all love Taysom Hill, and that's why the New Orleans Saints value Taysom Hill. Right? That's a key word, right? Value. Look at all the different restructures of his contract, all the crazy things they've done. They made him like the highest paid whatever at $140 million with all of those voidable years. But he's so valuable. And you know, the one thing about the broadcast on Sunday that I appreciated the most from the commentators was they asked Spencer Rattler about having Taysom Hill around, even throughout the injury, and how valuable Taysom Hill was to Spencer Rattler. Well, some of you are going to be sitting here and being like, well, Brendan, like, Taysom Hill wasn't a great NFL quarterback. Okay, so be it. He's got a winning record. I'm just going to throw that out there. He says he's got a winning record as a starter.
Brendan, coming into last week, and I will give credit to to my colleague at Saints Wire and USA Today, John Sigler, for coming up with this stat, because I'm a stat head. You all know that, but I did not know this. Coming into last week, of all the quarterbacks or former quarterbacks in the New Orleans Saints quarterback meeting room, and we're counting 3 on the coaching staff: Kellen Moore, Doug Nussmeier, and Scott Tolzien. You count those 3, you count Jake Haener, you count Hunter Deckers, who I'm not even sure is in on the practice squad currently, and you count Spencer Rattler, Taysom Hill. Of all those guys, Taysom Hill was the only one to win a game as a starting quarterback coming into last week.
That's insane.
Isn't it?
That's wild. That's a stat right there. You said John gave you that one?
Yeah, John Sigler.
All right. Sigler, look at you. Shout out Sigler. That's crazy. But anyway, for Spencer Rattler to name Taysom Hill as a guy who's been such a valuable piece of information to him and a mentor, I think that says a lot about Taysom as well.
Yeah.
Because how easy, and you've been a pro athlete, you've coached athletes, how easy is it when you get hurt to distance yourself from everybody? Right? Because it's a mental hurdle to get hurt in the first place, right? But 2, some people, they love to dive into the rehab and go headfirst in that and focus on themselves. Taysom was around all the time, apparently. And instead of immersing himself in it alone, one had Foster Moreau to go through all that rehab with, and the 2 of them made sure they were at the facility a lot.
Yeah.
I think that speaks volumes. So to have that shot in the arm of a guy who plays, a bajillion positions is super helpful. And I think that is something to watch as well. Fear threw in the chat. I saw someone say Kellen is looking at Taysom Hill as the backup quarterback.
No,
that was
go ahead.
I was gonna say that was I don't want to call it a false. I mean, it's a false rumor, but someone really jumped the gun on that. Right? It was one of those things where someone wanted to get so ahead of the reporting,
Jeff Duncan,
that they were wrong. I mean, Bob said the name, but right, and that's,
Bob don't play. Bob don't play politically correct because people don't play politically correct with Bob. So boo boo.
There you go.
I like Jeff Duncan. I have 3 of his books. I'm a big fan of his books, a huge fan of his books. But in this case, Jeff, like Brendan said, trying to, and we do we do work in a very competitive industry, where frankly at our level we're already kind of stuck behind the eight ball because we're overlooked by the national media. We're looked down upon even by certain national media who slant their coverage towards the Saints. But and we tell you all the time, Brendan pats us on the back all the time, not just us at the Bayou Blitz, but journalists at our level. We're the ones that get the true inside scoops. That's why I get asked, and others among my colleagues get asked to do guest spots on different radio shows, per week by some different opponents, because they want the specific New Orleans Saints story, not just the general stuff that you're going to hear, the cookie cutter stuff that you're going to hear from the national media, or certain members of the more specific media that have been maybe doing this too long. I'm not saying Jeff is one of those, but I am saying in this case, Jeff Duncan was the one who erroneously reported that Taysom Hill was the number 2 quarterback going into the Giants game. That was never the case.
Correct. Now, with that said, as Taysom gets healthier, should something happen to Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shuck, whoever's starting, could I see a situation where, opposed to going to Shuck, Rattler, whatever, they go to Taysom to finish out the game? Perhaps. But I think we're past that point with Taysom Hill, right? Again, if you're talking about emergency quarterbacks, which is that weird term and that third quarterback term that gets thrown out a whole lot, you wouldn't designate Taysom to be your emergency quarterback because then you're limiting all the other things he can do, right? But could I see a situation where they go to Taysom Hill to finish out a game if they absolutely have to? Sure. But again, I think we're past that point with Taysom. Could Taysom throw a pass if we need him to? Yeah, we saw him throw a pass last week. Yeah, Taysom can be used uniquely in so many different ways, but we are past the point in his career, and I think Taysom would be probably the first one to tell you the same thing. Is I think we're past the point of him being a starting quarterback. We just are, because we figured out what Taysom Hill is. Was it fun, that 5-game stretch that Taysom started? Yeah, it was different.
It was fun in an ulcer-causing kind of way.
Right. Yeah. It was different than what we had seen for the last decade, right? It was unique. Maybe not fun. It was unique. A unique time. But yeah, I wouldn't put too many eggs in that basket per se. Bob, let's close the show out real quick. We kind of teased a little bit with, Drake May, and he's been extremely accurate so far this year. Obviously, in my neck of the woods, with him being a North Carolina Tar Heel, a lot of people are excited about what Drake May can be because they have nothing to be excited about at the college level. Rumors today, Belichick may be looking to get his contract bought out. That's interesting. It was never going to work. I'll be the first to tell you, it was never going to work. He was not going to be able to relate to 18 and 19-year-olds that were making more money than he is. It just wasn't going to work. But there's a lot of people excited about Drake May. All right, there's a lot of people excited about the running back tandem that is in New England. There's a lot of people excited all of a sudden that, this might not be a team that is going to put together the dynasties that the New England Patriots did, but this is no longer a team where when Brady left, this team felt like they were light years away from even finding the playoffs again. This is a team where all of a sudden it's like, well, it wouldn't be unrealistic to see this team find themselves in a wild card within the next year or two, right? Because the Bills are gonna dominate that division for many, many years with, if health is on their side. But all of a sudden, this is a kind of an interesting, dark horse kind of team where there's going to be some people, those dark horse people that are like, let's jump on this bandwagon and steer this bandwagon now before everybody else gets on it. potential is the scariest word in sports. I do see there a lot of potential with this team over the next maybe 3 to 5 years, but we're not there yet. What are some things about this team that you like and some things that maybe match up well in the Patriots' favor going into this weekend?
Well, I'll tell you. I know a lot of Saints fans were hoping that when the Tennessee Titans fired Mike Vrabel, that the Saints would end up with Vrabel as the head coach, and I can understand why. I view Vrabel as a coach. He will make a bad player look average, an average player look good, and but he cannot take good and make it great. That's why he failed in Tennessee. But he can build. He can build a team. And if there's one thing that you can say about Mike Vrabel coach teams is that they will physically brawl you on both sides of the football. So I think the Saints are going to be in for a serious battle, in the trenches, and even outside. I mean, their secondary, their linebackers, big, physical. Their running backs, big, physical. So the Saints are going to have to battle. You mentioned Drake May. We both mentioned Drake May at separate points in our telecast tonight. He's playing really, really well. The running back tandem you mentioned of Ramondre Stevenson and a kid I love from Ohio State, the rookie Travion Henderson. They haven't turned it on yet. New England's just 27th, in rushing production, dead last in average per carry. But I still, we know Stevenson has been a productive back in the NFL, and I believe Henderson is going to have a good NFL career. So the Saints can't be overlooking this running game, thinking, oh, if we stop Drake May and limit throws to Stephon Diggs, we got a good chance at winning. I mean, not so fast, my friend. You can't overlook that running game. We've seen the Saints have loads of problems against Daniel Bellinger and Theo Johnson, the tight ends for the Giants last week. Well, Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper are better. So that's going to be a big, big matchup for them. Harold Landry and Kalavon. I always say that name wrong, so I apologize. Chason, the former LSU edge rusher. They have a combined 15 quarterback hits and 6 QB sacks. So the tackles, Fuaga and Banks, they're going to be tested. And again, New Orleans has to find a way to run the football. They do. There's some opportunities for Spencer Rattler and these receivers here. New England has really struggled against the pass defensively. They rank just 26th. But Christian Gonzalez, their star cornerback, he's finally healthy and in the lineup the last 2 weeks. New England's played much better against the pass in the secondary. I still think Spencer Rattler and Shaheed and Olave and those guys, they're going to have their chances, but New Orleans has to find a way to run the ball. To do that, you have to match New England's physicality in the trenches. I like that matchup for the Saints better than better than what the numbers bear themselves out, because I love the way Banks and Fuaga are playing a tackle. McCoy is starting to look like that Eric McCoy that we're used to seeing. Trevor Penning's strength, as we all know, is as a run blocker, not a pass protector. And man, Torricelli Simpkins looks like a road grader for the running game. I think that New Orleans could have some underrated success in rushing the football, but we've seen them struggle against young quarterbacks. We've seen it as recently as this year, and although they did pretty well against Jackson Dart still had his looks. Fortunately, the New Orleans secondary came up big. They'll need to do it again, but they'll need some help from the pass rush. I don't know if Chase Young is going to be back in the game, but Brian Bresee, Carl Granderson, Cam Jordan, you got to make plays and get made down to the turf this week, or otherwise you don't win this football game.
Absolutely. Well, and remember too, Jackson Dart didn't just have his opportunities or his looks. He was also really able to extend plays
Yep.
with his legs. Drake May, maybe not the athlete that Jackson Dart is, but Drake May is also not a statue in the pocket.
Right.
And can and will pick up first downs with his legs. Something else to watch out for. You mentioned earlier Brandon Cooks was not used very much last week. I would like to see Cooks used a little bit more this week. I'm not saying necessarily as a guy who's going to catch a lot of passes, but a guy who's going to take attention away from the other two guys, right? Brandon Cooks is not the speedster that he was when he first, came out of Oklahoma State all those years ago, over 10 years ago now.
He's still going to win a lot of races, though.
But he's still going to win a lot of races, and he's a guy that defenses still have to pay attention to. I would like to see him involved a little bit more. I think it would be cool for him to score against his old team. I think it would be neat to see his first touchdown back with the Saints in the Superdome, because I think that Archer celebration is going to it's going to hit. It's going to hit really, really hard in a nostalgia sense for a lot of people. So that would be nice to see. Don't force him the ball, but it would be nice to see something like that happen. I'm with you on running the ball. We teased a little bit of Kendre Miller. Kendre had a good game last week. And I would like to see more games similar where Kendre Miller is used in that sense. He had 10 carries in that game, a lot of carries in between the tackles, took that pressure off of Alvin Kamara, which I really appreciated. But Kamara only had 8 carries for like 27 yards.
Mm-hmm.
In one of those, he was able to bounce outside and kind of got tripped up by his own blocker. And that could have went for more. But I would like to see Kamara used a little bit more. We talked about this on Sunday. He dropped a couple passes. He had some opportunities in the passing game. But last week just felt like one of those games where you're just like, where's Alvin at? I would like to see him used a little bit more. Get a little bit more creative. You are starting to see that confidence out of Kendre Miller. But I've talked about this so much. We've talked about this so much. But we're not playing Madden, and we're not the offensive coordinator or the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. But we would love to see some formations where you see both Miller and Kamara, whether it's split in the backfield, whether it's one of them split out, or maybe you start with both of them, on the left and right of your quarterback in the shotgun and motion one of them out.
I would love that.
And then kind of get a feel of, are they in man? Are they in zone? How creative can we get? Those are the things we want to see. And that's what I mean in finding creative ways to use both of them on the field together, but also getting the ball to Alvin and allowing him to do the things that have made him so special and made him a future Hall of Fame running back in this league. Well, that's all the time we have today for the Bayou Blitz podcast. We thank you guys for tuning in. Bob teased it a little bit. He talked about his boss over there and John Sigler and the Saints Wire and USA Today. Bob, there are some weirdos that like to tune into the show every single week. They like to hear us talk, but they don't necessarily like reading your work, or they don't know where to read your work. They just think that you just talk all the time. And that's all you do. Where can people read your work with Saints Wire and catch up with you writing about the Saints, good, bad, or indifferent?
Guys, I'm easy to find. My personal social medias are Bob Rose on Facebook at BobbyR2613. I post all of my articles as well as our show links on those social media platforms. But the easiest way to find not only my articles, but all of ours is at the Saints Wire. It's a USA Today network publication. I said USA Today and not USA Network. I wanted to make sure I got that right. But yeah, the Saints Wire can also be found on Facebook and Twitter at the Saints Wire. There are a lot of great writers over there, and we try to give you multiple pieces of daily content. So please help us out by giving us a follow over there. Don't forget to follow our Bayou Blitz Twitter page and our Bayou Blitz Facebook page. Again, both really easy to find. Most of you already do, so we thank you for that. We so appreciate the love and support. Start getting other people involved too. Other Saint, yeah, and preferably other Saints fans, but other football fans in general can just spark up a nice debate. It may be a little bit of trash talking and fun, but we want to grow those pages. And speaking of growing, again, please, 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 be aware, folks, that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So not only make those appointments and keep those checkups, not just for that issue, but any physical, mental, or emotional health issue, that you have, and with any issues. That's why our friends at Get Checked or Check Out are there for you. But we have to be there for them to be there for us. So go to tcynow.org, make your donation today. Check them out. Check out their site and see what they have to offer. But make that donation to help them out a little bit. But the best thing that you can do for not only them, but society and yourself is make that booking reservation for your cabin for the 2026 Original Go Black and Gold Celebrity Charity Fan Cruise, Thursday, March 26th through Monday, March 30th. If you have any questions about it, please reach out to me. I would be happy to answer any questions you have, talk about my experiences on the trip in a little bit more detail if you're on the fence, because I want you there to hang out with us. It'll be the best thing, one of the best things you've ever done in your life. That's my word to you.
For myself, you can check me out down here at BT Boylan. Like Bob said, it doesn't take much time to punch it into your search bar. tcynow.com. They have a ton of wonderful stuff on there, from monthly awareness information, the stuff that Bob talks about every week, and it's something new every month. They have different parts of their site about developing awareness, advocating for health screenings, preventive measures, and probably the two most important, providing valuable resources and educating our friends and potential patients as well. All of that stuff's readily available right there on their homepage. So like I said, go check them out. Just see why this has become such a cause that Bob and I want to tell you guys about it week in and week out. Mostly Bob. Bob's the guy with, everything written out, ready to go. He speaks really well. He's the poster child. He may be on a billboard for him here in the next little bit. I'm just trying to speak it into existence, Bob. Haven't you always wanted to be on a billboard?
I have not.
You have not once has Bob ever dreamed of being on a billboard. Shireen, do it just for my pleasure. I will send you the most embarrassing photo of Bob I can find, and I'll pay to put it on a billboard. How about that?
There's a few not so flattering ones from the cruise itself too that I'm sure that her and Reham can use.
Perfect. I mean, he's just telling on himself at this point. But no, please go check them out. Again, that's tcynow.org. You can follow me here. You can follow Bob over, I can't point today, over there. You can also go and follow the Twitter page. It's scrolling across the bottom of your screen. It's at Bayou Blitz Pod on Twitter, at Bayou Blitz Pod on YouTube. And of course, you can find us over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Go ahead, if you don't already, subscribe, like, comment. It helps our algorithm. It helps us get in front of not just more Saints fans, but more football fans as well. As always, we really appreciate you guys tuning in. Bob and I will be back on Sunday with a post-game show. And hopefully it's another happy post-game show to share with you all. But until then, I hope you guys find some peace, spread love, practice positivity, and we'll see you next week for another edition of the Bayou Blitz podcast. See you then.